Hey, welcome to the Steep. If you're like us, one of the problems or one of the challenges that you're going to encounter in your pen testing career is having your report have the same uniform size file screenshot. So, and what I mean by that is when you go to take your evidentiary collection or your screenshot data, the challenge can be if people are on different systems with different resolutions or sizes or whatnot, the screenshots will vary in image size format. And that requires a lot of either post production or tweaking within tools such as PlexTrack if you're using that from a reporting standpoint. So I'm going to show you what I like to use, which is kind of a quick shortcut using Flameshot and some custom tooling to get uniform screenshot sizes. That way, whenever I copy and paste anything into my reports, I know for a fact that they're all the same set width. So, and obviously it will vary the height based on that predefined width. So I should have uniform screenshot sizes at least width-wise within the report, which is what I'm after. So again, let's go ahead and jump in. Really quickly, if you use Cherry Tree or any of the other available note-taking systems, you're more than welcome to follow along, or your mileage may vary, right? So, for instance, Obsidian is an alternative to Cherry Tree that actually does have a CSS. It has its own cascading style sheet format that will allow you to kind of preset the file size, image width within it. However, one of the things that I'm always trying to teach our students and just in general, any new pen testers that I train is please rely on the tools that actually ship default with the tool suite, because there will come points in time when maybe you're very limited to only the tools that you have and you're not allowed to install any other tools on the system. So I know that can sound like a challenge, but sometimes it does happen. So for this regard, I'd like to at least leverage Cherry Tree moving forward. So a few things before we get started. Cherry Tree can be found here underneath the Kali image dragon, and you can type in Cherry Tree and that will turn up an icon that looks just like these cherries here. And then once you launch that, I have modified the file menu as well as the textual size here, so it's a little bit easier to see. And I've taken in or taken some screenshots with various tooling here. But if you would like to follow along, one of the free tools that ships by default on Kali is XFCE4 Screen Shooter, and you can take that as well, and that will prompt another image, or excuse me, another window, so you can actually set your image, and you can choose entire screen, active window, or select a region. Once you do that, it'll allow you to draw with the mouse if you choose select a region, and then save that to the clipboard. But again, I digress. We're not really here to look at screenshots per se, as much as we are to just fix our screenshots. So however you take screenshots, you're going to find here when you come into Cherry Tree and paste them in, they will be varying sizes, right? So in this case, I have a width of 1680 on this first screenshot example. If I scroll up here a little bit and I've got a larger one, a larger screenshot that I took, you'll see that the width is 2921. So ideally, we'd like to have a uniform size, and here's usually the width that I like to choose. Now, this is obviously ugly, given that it's a little bit small for this particular screen. But from my standpoint, when I'm working with Mozilla Firefox or any type of web browser software, or even when I'm working with a terminal, I like to have the width set to about 700, and that seems to be a good size for me. But again, set width and height as you see fit, right? You may want to force height in your case if you're using more of a portrait than a landscape type of view. Really just depends on what you need. So, all right, really quickly, before we get into Flameshot, there's a couple pre-preps that we want to make sure we have installed. So the first thing we want to look for is a piece of software called xclip. That should be installed by default with Kali, but if it isn't, go ahead and get that installed through app install. The other thing you're going to want to look at is, do you have a product or a utility called which convert? You should, again, by default, have this installed with Kali, but if you don't worry. We're going to tackle that in a second when we installed Image Magic. And again, the last piece that we'll look for is another tool in case you choose not to use Convert or ImageMagick called Mogrify. And Mogrify should also be installed by default, but if it isn't, go ahead and run an app install for that. And then lastly, one last thing we want to see is, do we have XFCE settings installed? So we're going to take a look and see if we have desktop settings, because we will eventually get back there when we're ready to map. And as you can see here, I don't see anything there. So I want to make sure that we actually do have that installed. And I'm going to go ahead and install XFCE4 settings. Okay, and once I enter my password, that should go ahead and tell me it's got the newest settings. So now if I take a look and I do XFCE4 desktop settings, hopefully it will give me my output. And in this case, it doesn't. So we're going to have to troubleshoot that. We do this, we'll take a quick look. And in this case, it doesn't. So we're going to try switching one more time just to make sure that we can actually get to this directory structure when we're ready. Okay, so it can't find that. So we've got a little bit of homework, and we'll pause the video and figure out how to troubleshoot that in a second. I always like to kind of throw this in as a little bit of extra legwork for you. But anyhow, once you're ready, let's go ahead and install Flameshot. And we can do that with a simple app install Flameshot. And you'll see here, I've actually already installed it. So once it's running, you have a couple options. You can type in Flameshot here. And what it will do is it'll prompt, and I know that window's a little bit small here since I haven't cranked that out, but it will prompt you that it's now available. And you'll see up here in our menu, in our icon, and let me see if I can bump that up a little bit more so you can see that one. It may be a little bit hard to see at this point since I've kind of cranked those icons a little bit smaller. Let me get to items, and let's see if we can crank that up any. Okay, it doesn't look like it's going to modify anything outside of that particular bell, right? So right from our volume over, but here is the icon for actually taking Flameshot. And if you click on this, you'll see it gives you a prompt. And obviously that's going to be difficult to read, but it's similar, right? It has shortcut keystrokes that you can use. And in this case, we can just drag a particular area and then choose to export it to the clipboard. And that's this icon here that looks like the actual clipboard. So we'll skip over that for now. There's another option that you can choose to use as well. Let's go ahead and close this. I'm going to switch the icon size back to normal, so it auto adjusts that for us. And then over here, we do have another option where we can specifically pass Flameshot our details without going into that particular setting, right? We can specifically have our X11 session pull up Flameshot directly. And we do that by passing it this XCB as part of our platform and just say, hey, give us the GUI. And then we're right in here. So now when we take an image, we can simply hit copy to the clipboard. And then when we go back to our cherry tree, we can turn around and paste that in. And once we paste it in, you'll see it again looks to be a very different file size. So in this case, it's now 2878. So if I wanted to, I could sit here and manually edit all of our files to say, okay, right click, choose that edit image, set it to 700, blah, blah, blah. That's a pain in the ass, and we don't want to do that, right? We want to be productive. So we're going to create a script that actually works with ImageMagick, all right? And how we're going to do that is, first of all, be aware that you can app install ImageMagick as you might imagine, right? And magic is spelled kind of in that, I guess, Dungeons and Dragon-y type of format, or whatever you want to call it, kind of a variance So from this standpoint, I have already installed it because I know I have convert. But if you needed to, that would be the command to actually install it for yourselves. Go ahead and Control C out of there. However, you may recall when we did convert previously and confirmed it was present, it was under user bin. And when we do dash dash version, you'll see that this is actually part of the ImageMagick Studio LLC package suite, which is what we want. Okay, so now that we've got Flameshot installed, now that we've got all of our dependencies installed, with the exception of the desktop settings, and we'll get to that in a minute, what we're going to do is actually go ahead and modify or create a script. So wherever and however you like to create scripts, please do so. In my case, I have called this shot.sh, and we're going to go ahead and open that in VI. And sorry for those of you who like Nano and Emacs and gedit and everything else. I absolutely do not. I prefer VI or Vim. And here's the one shot. And I want to get this all on one line so you can see it more easily. But I will drop this into the description for the video so you have this particular syntax that you can put it in. But all that's really telling us is it's going to grab the GUI Flameshot raw input. So whatever we kind of scrape our screen with, it's going to pipe that into convert, resize that image to a 700 width, and then output that in a PNG format. That then gets sent to xclip within the clipboard and saves that as an image PNG file. So I know that sounds very long-winded, but that's what we're going to do. And at this juncture, I'm now going to challenge you, as I'm going to try and do in future videos, to figure out how to get XFCE 4 desktop settings installed within your environment and configured. So I'm going to pause the video for a moment here, and then we'll pick that up again in just a moment. Okay, actually that's ugly. Let's turn off that edge light. Let me click that off for a second. All right, if we come back and take a look, you're going to see that I actually laid a sneaky one on you. As I used to tell a couple of my mentees, right? I tend to be a sneaky shit from time to time. So in this regard, there actually is no XFCE 4/desktop/settings. What we're really looking for is something called XFCE 4-settings-manager. And in particularly, the subset underneath that is the XFCE keyboard settings. And what that does is once we have our keyboard settings up here, we're going to click on Application Shortcuts. And then down here, we're going to click on Add. And we're going to add our particular script that we just created. And you may recall that in our case, it's under Home, Steep, the Steep user account. And again, yours will vary. And from there, we want to go into our scripts directory. And this is why I would encourage you to keep a standard scripts directory. And in this case, click on shot, SH. Now, as soon as we hit OK, it's going to then ask us press a key on the keyboard for this to actually be mapped to a function. So I'm on my Mac, so I'm going to choose the menu key. But what you choose is really irrelevant. It can be any command that you want. Just bear in mind, or any key that you want, rather. Just bear in mind that there may be some shortcut keys that are already set up. So you'll want to kind of take note of that. Here you can see my shot or my screenshot is now mapped. So whenever I take or whenever I press that menu key, it should call my sort script. All right, and let's go ahead and close this. So now that we're done, the last step I'd like you to confirm is just take a look and make sure that you set chmod on that, right? And you set that script to executable. If you didn't, you will definitely need to do that. Otherwise, it's going to cause problems. And as you can see here, mine is set. So I should be ready at this juncture. So let's go ahead and minimize our terminal window. And we want to go back here and fire up our particular image, our cherry tree. And then I'm going to go out here and grab just a screenshot of Shodan. Let me try sliding this up a little bit. Just a little sluggish at the moment. Okay, now when I'm ready, I'm going to hit that menu key, and you can see it prompts that window for me. I select this now, and if we did everything properly, when I take this screenshot and I hit enter, enter will take it to the clipboard. I can then switch back here and enter it into my cherry tree. And as you can see here, now if I right click and I choose edit image, I have a wonderful width of 700. That's exactly what we wanted. So good news, our script works and everything is copacetic. That concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like using the tool. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.